Let's not begin in Westminster just for a moment, but on the sun-scorched tarmac of Lesbos Airport in April 2016. An Airbus 320 chartered by the Vatican taxis down the runway, and on board Pope Francis and 12 refugees, not officials, not cardinals, but families fleeing Damascus and Deir el-Zor, personally flown to safety by a man who leads 1.3 billion Catholics, or a man who led 1.3 billion Catholics. It was quite literally an act of salvation. Now, fast forward to today's Britain, where international students, arguably the most documented, visible and scrutinised group in our immigration system, are once again being targeted by the Home Office, not because they pose a threat, but because they've broken the law, not because they've broken the law, but because rounding them up is easy, bureaucratically convenient, politically satisfying. Why? Because they might apply for asylum. And why? Because if there's a slight error in any of their visa applications, or then they can be deported, because we know that they'll come back. It's easy statistics. It meets a target. We deported so many people, most of them are students, and they'll come back next year. It's an expensive hobby, really. Students have to pay so much money in legal fees, and then to come back. It's very cruel, and I've seen this in action about I think 6 or 7 times now. And students have come to me and said, they're about to be deported. Why? Because they were £15 short in their bank account when their file was finally accessed by the Home Office to renew their visa, while they were in the middle of their A-levels or in their first year exams or whatever. And there's madness here. There's madness. Now, Pope Francis, born Bergoglio, the son of Italian migrants to Argentina, from the outset of his papacy, it's not surprising that he framed migration not as a threat, but as a test of compassion, of courage and civilization. And his first trip outside Rome, to Lampedusa, where he threw a wreath into the Mediterranean for the drowned refugees and wept. Who wept for these people, he asked. We are a society that's forgotten how to cry. And later on, that flight from Lesbos, he took not just refugees, but responsibility. The Vatican would house, feed, educate and support these families. The symbolism was matched by logistics. He didn't outsource mercy. Francis understood that refugees are not statistics. Before they are numbers, they are human beings, he reminded. And that framing was not religious, it was deeply political. It challenged the cold calculus of deterrence, the euphemistic vocabulary of pull factors, and the grotesque industry of outsourced cruelty, like the Rwanda plan. Now consider what Labour is actually doing. After bruising losses from Reform UK in the local elections, ministers are finalising plans to crack down on international students who might apply for asylum. It's presented as pragmatic. In fact, it is perverse. The students in question, 16,000 of them in 2024, are not clandestine arrivals. They're not trafficked in the back of lorries or fished out of dinghies. They're enrolled in our universities, their visas filed, their addresses known, their bank accounts monitored. If they apply for asylum at the end of their studies, they do so through official channels, and yet Labour is determined to label this abuse. Why? Because targeting the well-documented is easier than pursuing those who have overstayed their visas or work illegally. It requires less enforcement, less legwork. Rounding them up is a doddle, and it allows Labour to signal toughness to a reactionary electorate without tangling with genuine complexity. And this was set up by Theresa May way back in 2012 or something. It was set up by Blunkett. They'd already devised this plan to target students. It is spite disguised as strategy, and more damningly, it's a betrayal of the very moral instincts that the Labour Party was founded on to defend, so I'm told. There's a broader hypocrisy here. Labour MPs such as Yvette Cooper, now the Home Secretary, once railed against Theresa May's student deportation policies, and yet she's doing the same thing, rightly accusing her of stifling science, medicine and business. Cooper herself mocked May for being too brittle, too rigid, but today in government she pushes forward a policy not only brittle but vindictive. Universities are already teetering. 40% expect to be in deficit. Postgraduate international student applications are plummeting. Why? Because we aren't reliable. Because somebody comes here and they immediately think, well, if they come here on a student visa, they might be targeted and sent home after they've paid us lots of money without getting the goods, without getting the degree. Because the Home Office suddenly says, no. I know of a person only the other day who told me that he'd applied to study in Birmingham. He'd sent his money and the Home Office has refused him a visa for some spurious reason. And he has to reapply to the Home Office, and Birmingham will not return his money. Why not? Because they're all on the take. Because they're all corrupt and foul, and it's extortion, isn't it? It's extortion, and it's cruel and it's spiteful because these people are so well documented. Because it wins headlines, not because it's good policy. The Home Office wants to tighten the screw. Why doesn't it actually do some real work rather than this lazy paper shuffling, which is easy? What's more, the public doesn't even support this. Polling shows 61% of Britons want student migration to remain the same or to increase. Most don't even consider students to be migrants, but still the crackdown comes. This isn't governance. This is reactionism masquerading as realism. And let's remember, 1 in 4 world leaders studied in Britain. That's not an accident. It's a soft power of the highest calibre, earned through welcome, not walls. International students bring 41.9 billion to our economy. They fund our research, they staff our NHS, they enrich our communities, and they leave, in most cases, within 5 years, taking a little bit of Britain back home with them. They are ambassadors for our principles. What are they going to tell the people at home about our principles now, when we throw them out after we've taken their money and not even given them a degree? To jeopardise this over a few thousand asylum claims is myopic in the extreme. Pope Francis didn't consult a focus group before inviting 12 Syrians onto his plane. He didn't ask if they were net contributors or whether their presence would swing Lesbos back to centrism. He acted with moral clarity. Meanwhile, Labour, having inherited a broken immigration system, now chooses not to fix it, but to perpetuate it, with a cruelty softened only by its banality. The question we must ask is not, will this reduce net migration, but what kind of country do we wish to be? Do we want to be a place of welcome, wisdom and moral seriousness, or do we want to be governed by spreadsheets and suspicion? And the answer in the end is not administrative, it is spiritual. Let's hope that Labour remembers that.